Okay, as people are getting settled, we'll get started here just a few minutes early because we have a tremendous amount of information to go over. First off, show of hands, who has actually logged in and used ChatGPT before? All right, so just about everybody. Okay, perfect. So the ultimate goal for today is, my previous class we talked about what LLMs are. Anybody tell me what an LLM is? Anybody? Anybody? I know you know. That's fine. Large language model. So there's been so many iterations that ChatGPT's gone through in the last roughly, what are we looking at, 3.5 years, give or take. So with those iterations, the thing is, back in the day, you really had to understand how to craft a prompt, which is what we're going to talk about today. We're going to be prompting the system to give us what we're looking for as far as information goes. With those prompts, you had to be really good. You had to be clear, concise. You had to understand what you were asking. That is not the case nowadays. The systems nowadays, that the way that they built them, they're considered conversational language models, meaning that you just talk to it like you're talking to another person. I was talking with Crystal earlier, and we are the dumber of the two when we're using the system. We aren't the subject matter expert. So you have to keep in mind, AI is not coming to take anybody's job here. Who's coming to take your job is somebody that knows how to leverage AI and leverage these prompts into becoming better at their job. Whether it's marketing, whether it's evaluating your business structure, whether it's doing lead generation, whether it's doing research on certain companies, certain products, product market viability if you're launching a startup, things of those nature. There's so much that you can do with it, and that's the ultimate goal for today. So we take a look at this first handout. Everybody should have a handout with them. And feel free to write all over these. Like Jasmine said, I have all of these in PDF format. I'm going to send them to Jasmine. Jasmine will get them all to you as well. Before we get too deep into it, I do want to also make sure you guys know, I'm willing to meet with each and every one of you independently for an hour, completely free of charge, so that we can really drill down into your business and into those things that matter specifically for your business and or your industry. Because I believe in the technology. I consider myself a futurist. This is the future. You can either get on board or you can absolutely get left behind. And it is so imperative that you embrace it as much as possible. The more you can learn from it, the better off you're going to be. So on this first handout, I have 6 features of creating a prompt that are imperative to understanding how the system works. And again, practice makes perfect. My kids play all the sports. What do I tell them? 18 minutes a day in that respective sport will put you leagues ahead of your competitors and your peers. The same thing is true for AI. Use it 20 minutes a day. 20 minutes a day is nothing. How much time do we spend doom scrolling TikTok, Reels, YouTube Shorts? Right here, I'm that guy. I'm on it constantly. But if I take a concerted amount of time to get better at whatever it is that I do in my career, how many people are here in sales? Okay, fair amount. How about marketing? Great. Sales and marketing. ChatGPT is great with that. As far as a business owner, something a little bit more technical. Fantastic. Okay. Who'd I miss? What do you do? I know what you do, but why don't you tell the class?
I'm a business development manager.
Perfect. Perfect. I have that listed on my LinkedIn as well, so not bad. We're kindred spirits, Joel. All right, so let's go through these 6 things. The first thing, be specific. Be very specific. Clearly detailing your request enhances response accuracy, providing more relevant and tailored information to your needs. And again, you're having a conversation. If you don't like that initial prompt, or it's not giving you the information, the system's only as good garbage in, garbage out, right? If it's a really crappy prompt, you're probably getting a really crappy response, right? So you have to really understand kind of what you're asking, but you can use the system to help clarify that for you as well. We're going to go over that. Next up, set the desired format. Request the output format you need for clarity, such as bullet points or tables, ensuring structured responses. So myself personally, I do a lot of marketing. I create a lot of short form videos, okay? When I do that, let's say that I need content for the next 30 days. When I build that content, I'll say I need X, Y, and Z. Please output all of the information in table format. So then I can copy it, paste it, and I can drop it into Excel. and I've got all that information. I'm not having to sit there and format different things and waste my time. I want to be efficient, and that's what this system and any of the large language models, there's other ones out there. You have Grok 3, you have Llama with the Meta Universe, you've got Claude. There's a lot out there. Today, I'm not going to overwhelm you with all the different options. We're going to talk specifically with Chat GPT. Next one, use clear constraints. Constraints like word limits focus AI responses, leading to concise and pertinent answers. Does anybody write content for a website, like a blog or something along those lines? No bloggers in here? So if you did want to write a blog, you could say, I want you to use the structured heading format, H1, H2, H3 style, to ensure compatibility and compliance with Google standards, et cetera, et cetera. Again, this is all about educating yourself. I don't expect all of you to know these things, but this is the way in which you can teach yourself and you can move forward with crafting content that is pertinent not only to you, your industry, but to the people that are going to service or are going to patronize your business. Okay, does that make sense? So I know like you could talk about any number of things when it comes to like appliance repair. Here, you could ask ChatGPT and we can talk about this too. What are the top 5 things that go wrong with refrigerators? That could absolutely be a blog post. There's lots of ways to spark creativity. One thing I do recommend, don't just let AI do all the work. You got to go in, you got to tell it what you want it to do, but you need to customize it. Set it to your tone. Set it so people can understand it and it doesn't feel like it was written by AI.
My big issue is about formatting it.
Sure.
The way that you're talking is not the way that I talk as like a service technician, as an owner.
Sure.
So when I talk to it, it's going to be like, what are you saying?
Right. Well, and that's something, again, with these one-on-ones that I'm offering, if you guys want to come in, we can meet at my office. We can meet at, the local Big Apple Bagel. We can go in there, have a seat, and we can talk for an hour. I have no issue with that, and I want to offer that up to you guys because of how much I believe in the system. All right, so the next one, define a role. Assigning a role to AI helps it adopt the appropriate expertise and voice for your specific inquiry. Anybody understand what I'm saying there? Does that make sense? Define a role. I am a service technician who primarily works on appliances inside of the home. Please craft a blog post about how to maintain this appliance over the long term to ensure the longevity of the device. And then boom, all of a sudden you could have 2,000 words there where you could tell people like, hey, here's what I recommend. Exactly. So, okay, provide context, including background info guides AI for tailored responses, improving relevance based on your situation. So again, I know you're a marketing manager. So I want you to act as a marketing manager, and I want you to craft me 30 pieces of content based on X, Y, and Z, whatever that is. If you have events coming up, if you have a new thing that you're launching with the program, whatever that may be. Does that make sense? Something along those lines. You can really custom tailor those responses by telling the AI to assume a role. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Iterate and refine. And here's the key, you guys. Everybody always thinks like, oh, I'm going to put in my prompt, I'm going to get the exact response. That is not the case. You might have to have a fairly long tail conversation with the AI to give you exactly what you're looking for. Don't be afraid to iterate and refine. Follow up for refined and actionable responses, enhancing the dialogue for more thorough insights. Okay? We'll move on to the next page here, and we're going to jump right into examples. Again, guys, I know we're really tight on time, so we're going to really go through this stuff. We're probably not going to have too much Q&A, but I want you guys to get into the system, start typing information in so you can see how these responses are custom tailored to your system. So prompting, basics, and exploration. All right, so we have 3 examples here. So I have examples and purpose on each one of these pages. The next 8 pages is all information like this, tailored to different industries and such. The first one we're going to do, and I want everybody ready to type this into Chat GPT. The example, what are some key trends in the blank industry this year? So in your respective industries, the things that you're engaged and involved with, what I want you to do is type in, what are some key trends in the industry you're in this year? And let's see what those responses look like. Too much coffee today. I'm getting notifications. My heart rate's too high on my phone. Yeah, true story. Shane, we see you tonight at Quartermania?
You sure will, buddy.
All right, man, we're gonna have some fun tonight. All right, so who's got some information for me? What do you got?
So I'm in the commercial janitorial business, so I prompted that, and it says, so for the key trends are increasing adoption in technology, emphasizing in green cleaning practices, outsourcing of janitorial services, focusing on specialized cleaning services.
Fantastic. So let me ask you this, not knowing anything about the commercial janitorial business, does that seem relevant?
Yes.
Absolutely. Anybody else that's seeing some reasonable stuff? Yes, ma'am.
I work in the transportation industry.
Okay.
MTA and in marketing.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I did that, transit marketing industry, and it's talking about sustainability and electrification, zero emission buses, and sustainable practices, very relevant right now.
Fantastic.
And another one was advanced technologies and mobility as a service and transit and things of that.
Absolutely. And so with those things, and so let's look at what we could jump into from there. With any of those subjects, you could either copy it, you could paste it, whatever it makes the most sense. You take that information and like, here are the top 3 trends that are occurring in my industry. And I'm talking about starting a new chat. Here are the top 3 trends inside of the transportation industry in 2025. I would like you to help me craft a blog post as it relates to this information that I can then share on social media. So now you have the ability, now you've understood, oh, I've got these dynamics, but then I can take that and then I can create something. Because again, we are in a world of content creation. The days of just standing there with a billboard, here I am, come patronize my business. You're completely drowned out by everything around you, So you have to come up with value, and we need to give value without expectation. So it's so very important to engage with these systems because it's hard. It's hard. We all have spouses, we all have kids, we all have jobs, careers, hobbies, things that we like to do. It's not always easy to sit down and just be like, oh, I'll just come up with some content, right? How many people have sat there trying to come up with something to post, right? Everybody. Even if you don't raise your hands, I know you're lying. Everybody comes out with something. You're trying to market yourself, but it's difficult when you're in the weeds, you're kind of in the middle of all of it. So utilize the system to give you the ideas and the content creation to continue to move forward. Does that make sense to everybody? Any questions about this specifically? And what I want you to do, the reason I think these handouts are so important is to spur on the thought and the thinking process behind how can I use them. Not everyone will be pertinent to you guys, your industries, and what you do, but the ability, explain the basics of budgeting for beginners in a numbered list with each point limited to 2 sentences. You see how specific and granular you can get? That's amazing to be able to see that. And then you could even take that and let's say it gives you a response. Can you craft me a script for a short form video less than 60 seconds with a hook at the very beginning that's going to get people to want to engage and watch? From a marketing standpoint, you know, I'm not saying that we're making your job obsolete as far as a marketing manager, but this makes life way easier. Now you can put out the content instead of worrying about the development and the script and everything else you have to do. Does that make sense? All right, so the last one on this page, and this talks back to giving it like a role. You are a seasoned marketing consultant. Suggest 3 strategies to boost social media engagement for a small nonprofit organization. So you gave it a role, and then you specified the industry in which you want to engage with, right? Does that make sense? So the purpose is it directs the AI to adopt a specific expert perspective. Any questions on this page as we continue to move forward? And again, I apologize for the speed of this class. I'm going to talk a mile a minute, but it's really important that I try to give you guys as much of an opportunity to see how the system can help make you better at your job. And again, AI is not going to take your job. Somebody that understands how to use AI better than you is going to take your job, okay? All right, let's move on to the next one. Brainstorming and idea generation.
Did you ask ChatGPT to do this for you?
ChatGPT built this entire presentation.
Wow.
100%. I took the prompt that I built with Jasmine for the class and what we were going to talk about, And I went through, and I can show you real quick. So I went through here, and here's the prompt ideas, and you can see how much I was able to build here. All the way up. So the initial prompt that I did, I gave it the picture with the description. Did you know Chat GPT can read and analyze pictures that you submit? Anybody know that?
That's crazy.
It's amazing. You can go through, if you have Chat GPT on your mobile phone, I can go to my man's refrigerator right now. I can open it up, I can take a picture, I can upload it to Chat GPT, say, I don't really know what to make for dinner. Can you take a look at this picture and give me some ideas? It'll go through and it'll literally visually analyze what's inside of your refrigerator and say, oh, hey, you have the correct ingredients to be able to make X. Wild, right? Absolutely wild what it can do. Kind of scary, kind of cool. Depends on your perspective. I understand where you're at. So, and again, because I for one, welcome our robot overlords, I'm always very polite. You know, the Terminator shows up, I don't want him to think that I'm a huge a-hole. You know, I know that I'm polite. So I said, good afternoon, I need your help. I am hosting a GPT class tomorrow, and you can find the details contained within the attached screenshot. I am hoping to use your expertise in developing some use case prompts for my class. Why don't you take a look at the class outline and let's discuss how we can best build some prompts. I don't need to be the subject matter expert. I'm going to convey it to you here, but I'm going to use the system. It's going to make me better at my job. 10 years ago, I would have had to spend days and days and days neglecting my children and my wife, which I don't do, to build all this information. So for me, this is making me better at my job. It's making me better at the things that I do, and that's the key to everything that we're doing. All right, let's get back into this. Brainstorming and idea generation. So example, I'm planning a new employee wellness initiative. Can you give me 5 creative event ideas that encourage work-life balance? Amazing, amazing. Purpose, it generates innovative ideas for internal programs. I don't need to come up with that stuff. I have a system now that can do it. Suggest interactive exercises to teach junior software developers how to collaborate effectively on a team project. How do you feel about that? Would that be a benefit to your business potentially? That's exactly what you need. Reason being, it offers creative approaches to training sessions. There's nothing worse than going into a training session, and again, hopefully you guys don't feel this way. Nobody likes to be talked at. We want to talk with, we want to do things, we want to engage, we want to understand what we're being taught. All right, so the last one here. I'm launching a new tech gadget. What are 3 innovative features that could set it apart from competitors? Sparks fresh ideas for product development. So let's say that, I want to kind of go back to the first one. I'm planning a new employee wellness initiative. Who here manages employees or has staff underneath them? Okay, so a vast majority of us. What would be a good prompt for you guys that could help with potentially engagement? As an example, my wife works in banking. Her team has just received an RTO notice, so they have to return to office. Emotions are a little high about returning to office post-COVID. Such is life. I'm not here to adjudicate those concepts. But all things being said, she wanted to do something to kind of get people a little bit more engaged. So she used Chat GPT, with my help, to come up with some ideas about like doing something fun on a specific day of the week, some different initiatives. Maybe we're going to take our lunch hour, the bank's going to supply lunch, we're going to play a board game. Something that's just going to interact and engage with them a little bit more than just coming into the office and just sitting there being bored all day. So these are the types of things that you can do to help, again, spur that creativity. You know, the system itself is just going to sit there until you use it, right? Anybody getting any ideas here for things and ways they can implement things into their business? Oh, yeah. Anybody? All right, perfect. I don't think I'm going to have us jump into any of these specifically, but I do want to move into the next page because this is where the real magic happens. Refining and iterating, okay? A refinement prompt. So let's say you put in a prompt. It gives you information that is mediocre at best, okay? One of the examples you can use for a refinement prompt, now refine the second idea to make it more budget friendly and suitable for a fully remote workforce. Funny, I didn't realize I was going to talk about RTO and then fully remote. So the purpose, it demonstrates how to adjust initial ideas to better fit specific constraints. So you can talk to the system and say, listen, we've got 12 different employees that are all working for us. What can we do to engage them while they're at work to ensure that they feel engaged with the work that we're doing? One thing that I do, so I'm in sales, marketing, consulting. We're not going to get deep into this today, but Chat GPT, you can actually talk with it. You can legitimately have a conversation with it. And it'll still go through and it'll transcribe all of your conversation, but I put in a lot of windshield time. I could be in the car 60, 90 minutes, 120 minutes, at a time, driving to certain locations. When I do that, I'll put in my earbuds, I'll open up Chat GPT, and I'll have a conversation with it. I've heard of use cases where people have actually utilized it as a therapist. Hey, call me crazy, but Chat GPT is never going to make fun of you. It's not going to judge you. It's not going to do anything along those lines. It wants to engage with you. You can have conversations about very topical information, things that are important to you. Okay, so I want to make sure that we understand you can refine these prompts. You can get very granular on specific ideas. The adjustment prompt. Please rewrite the above description in a more formal, professional tone suitable for a corporate email. We were talking about this earlier. How many of us have received an email and your blood starts to boil? Or somebody's being very assumptive about things? Sometimes I need to take a deep breath. I used to go for a walk around the office. Now you say, all right, I'm going to write the response angrily. I'm going to be upset. But that I'm going to copy that. I'm not going to hit the send button. I'm going to copy that information. I'm going to start a new chat in Chat GPT, and I'm going to say, please refine this and ensure that it is not off-putting. Let's just put it that way. And yes, sir.
I do that daily, and I prompt it to say, please polish this email in a polite, professional manner.
There you go. That is exactly it. And again, that takes you what? A minute? Yeah. A minute at most. But then you have something that is much more palatable for the recipient of that email, as opposed to just firing off the handle, because we've all got those. Now, one of the other use cases, how many of us are in the B2C type aspect, where you're working with customers or clients? I would assume almost everybody. Everybody now and again gets those nasty emails, or they get a bad review, or something happens that is not advantageous to showcasing how great your business is. You can take that response, you can put it in here, and you can say, listen, I need you to craft me a professional response to this, acknowledging this client's concerns, but then allowing me to kind of state my case as well. And then you can get a much more professional response. We've all been there. I've gotten bad reviews before, and all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, well, pump the brakes. I can't respond like this, because I don't want to be adversarial. I don't want to be confrontational. I need to acknowledge and empathize with their perspective, and then explain how I can either make it right or how there was a miscommunication, whatever that may be. Is that beneficial to anybody else's business? Because it surely is beneficial to mine. Okay, versions prompt. Example, and this again, with the refining and iterating aspect, you've already started a prompt. Does everybody understand that? You've already had a conversation, you've already brought something up, but you can say provide 2 alternative versions of the previous strategy. One emphasizing cost effectiveness, and the other focused on rapid implementation. So you can take a singular answer, but then you can custom tailor it in whatever direction makes the most sense. Does that make sense to everybody? Any questions there? So I would like, everybody should have had the initial prompt that we did, right? Asking about trends in their industry, okay? I would like you to take that and get a little bit more specific. Use any one of these 3 prompts, the refinement prompt, the adjustment prompt, or the versions prompt, and see if you can pull a little bit of additional information out of the system based on some type of refinement and or iteration. I'm going to take a drink of water because my lips are sticking together. Yes, ma'am.
Is the Chat GPT always free, or do you need to subscribe to it?
So there are different versions of it. So they do have a free version, which allows you to use one of their most updated systems, which is Chat GPT 4.0. And again, the naming conventions, you don't let engineers do the naming conventions for these things because they are infuriating as far as the explanations. So the free version, you can utilize the system called 4.0, which is, for most of our applications, perfectly sufficient. I have the Plus version, which is $20 a month. And then I do have some of my peers in the industry that are utilizing the Pro version, which is $200 a month, which offers like a deep research aspect to it. A lot of really neat stuff you can do with it. But for everyday use cases, small to mid-sized businesses, I don't know that it's really necessary. I would recommend if you get in there and you're using the free version a lot, the $20 version is worth its weight in gold. You get a larger prompt window. You can have more extended conversations with it before the system starts to hallucinate. So with not being logged in, it's not going to save any of your chats. So you can still log in as a free user. You can log in as a free user, and it'll save those chats. Okay, so was anybody able to refine that prompt? Were they able to come up with something in addition to what they had initially asked? And we're not going to go person by person and look at that information, but that's the point of being able to refine and iterate, is understanding that just because you got an answer, maybe you didn't like the answer. Maybe you need something that's a little bit more full body. Maybe it didn't quite answer it in the way that you wanted it to. Don't be afraid to say, no, that's not what I was looking for. I want you to focus more specific on this feature and then give me the results of that. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, we are making pretty decent time here. Let's move on to the next one. All right, and this is where we're gonna actually get in. I'm gonna have you guys put some stuff into your own system. All right, practical business and professional applications. Email draft prompt. So as an example, I have a weekly newsletter that I send out. A little bit about real estate, a little bit about sales and marketing, a little bit about AI. Every week I go through and I say, hey, here's what I did this week. Help me build the intro, the outro, and an email subject line for this week's newsletter. I don't want to think about it. I don't want to do it. I can say, oh, I had 5 events this week. I worked with 2 different clients. I did this, I did that, et cetera, et cetera. Did some fun stuff with the kids. And that allows me to build all of that information without me having to sit there and just mind-numbingly type a bunch of information out. It's not making me lazy. Keep that in mind. It's making me more efficient. I want to be better at my job. I want to talk to people as opposed to being stuck behind my computer screen. Does that make sense? Okay, so write a concise email inviting employees to sign up for a volunteer day at the local community center. Include the date, location, and a brief explanation of the event's importance. Purpose, it creates ready-to-send communication for internal use. So could you do something like that? Do we have any HR people here? No? Good, you guys are the bane of my existence. I'm highly unemployable because I refuse to wear shoes. User persona prompt. The example is create 2 distinct user personas for a mobile fitness app. Include details such as age, occupation, fitness goals, and barriers to regular exercise. The purpose is it helps in developing targeted marketing or product strategies. So, Shane, I'm going to pick on you again. In your industry, you could say, I want you to create the ultimate user profile for somebody that will be able to engage with my services in home appliance repair. You could absolutely do that. And then let's say that you want to do some marketing. You could custom tailor those audiences online through Facebook, Google, what have you, to showcase your abilities with Genesee Appliance Repair to those people online. You could create a user profile per se. Do you want to market to 20-year-olds that are living in apartments?
No, they don't have no money.
There you go, probably not. So who do you want to market to? It could be anybody from mid-30s to 55, right? Could be single-family homeowners, could be any of those things. So this is where you can get real specific and granular with who your target market is, right? Does that make sense? All right, objection handling prompt. We touched on this a little bit earlier. Provide responses to common objections people have about switching to a new project management software, focusing on data migration challenges and team adoption. Prepares professionals with ready-made responses for customer or stakeholder concerns. So myself, I'm on the phone a lot. I'm calling clients, prospective clients. I'm cold calling people. When I make those calls, sometimes I need to get in the right frame of mind. I'll hop on Chat GPT and I'll use the audio version. I'll put in my earbuds and I'll say, listen, I want to do some practice cold calling. So I want you to be the prospective client. I'm going to act like I'm calling you. I want you to respond. I want you to have a few different objections, but I want you to help me work through the process. How amazing is that? to be able to have somebody, you can just hop on there and you can have these conversations. You can engage with the system. And again, you don't have to use the voice feature if you don't want. You can still do the same thing via text prompts. All of that's a possibility. So what I'd like you guys to do is, I would like you to come up with a way in which you could use the email draft prompt. Whether you're talking to people within your organization, whether you're sending out an email to prospective clients, customers, what have you. There's just so many different ways to do it. It's a little bit hard because of all the different industries we have in here. But if you wanted to draft an email to a prospective, let's just say a client, how would you draft that? What would you focus on as far as your industry goes? Please draft me an email to a prospective client that is interested in engaging with my product and or service. I want to ensure that I'm bringing them value and offering them something along with that. So try to type some stuff in there and see if you can try to come up with a way for ChatGPT to craft an email for you. And again, the ultimate goal of this class, the ultimate goal is so that you guys, it sparks your imagination a little bit. It gives you an opportunity and a way to engage with prospective business in the future. Does anybody have a response or a quick email they want to share that would make sense? Anybody want to put themselves out there? Andy.
Yeah, so I crafted an email outlining business trends in the industry, and it gave me the intro and everything, and then it gave me kind of a 5-point thing, and on different trends, and then
Absolutely. And that's fantastic. And let's say that you wanted to focus on points 1 and 3. So my response, the way I would build it for you, I would say, that was a great start. I want you to draft not a follow-up email. I would like you to draft a new email focusing exclusively on points 1 and 3. And then you'll see that iteration, you see that focus, and you see it generate that. And then if the email's too long, this email was great, but I need it a little bit more concise. Can you limit it to 6 to 8 sentences in total? You see what I mean? We're refining and we're iterating. We're making more progress with getting exactly what we're looking for, as opposed to like, okay, now I've got this huge long email, but I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna spend 20 minutes editing it. No. Let the system do that for you. Let the system put you in the right position to give you the information that you're requesting. Does that make sense? Yeah, if you're happy with everything, absolutely. And again, a lot of this comes back to tonality. You don't want it to necessarily sound like it came from AI. So you can copy the large portion of it, and let's say it's 85% of the way there. Okay, I can spend 2 or 3 minutes, more personalizing it. And I even say when I'm building certain things, again, with my exposure to the system, that 18 minutes a day of exercise inside of the system, I'll tell it, please don't use any buzzwords that are super common with your technology. They like to use, there's probably a list of 20, 25 words where when I see them and I'm reading somebody's content or I'm watching something, I'm like, oh, dear Lord, you guys didn't go through this at all. This was straight copy and paste. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. At least they're getting content out there. But if you want to engage, it needs to sound like it's coming from you, not directly from the system. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, let's move on to the next one, summaries and reports. Summaries and reports. Meeting note prompt. Example, summarize this transcript of our team's quarterly planning session into key decision, action items, and deadlines. This is great. We all sit in meetings. I have an ink pen that says this meeting absolutely should have been an email. So we've all been there. We've all sat through meetings like that, especially in corporate America. But one thing I can do, I can take this fancy little video right here that I'm recording. I can upload the transcript from this video to ChatGPT, and I can ask it to build me a YouTube-specific description for this class. So I can post this class onto YouTube. I can have it build with the meeting highlights as well as timestamps for where we're talking about certain subjects. It can do all of that right inside of the system. So you can upload transcripts, things like that. There are certain systems. Has anybody used any of the transcription services that are out there as far as corporate meetings and such? So it'll take those meetings. Yes, sir.
I have, but some of what we talk about is sensitive and
Absolutely.
a privilege, so
Yep.
we turn it off.
100%. And that is one thing to be aware of as well. I'm not saying that OpenAI, who is the parent company of ChatGPT, I'm not saying that OpenAI is going through and looking at all of the user data and the information, but if you do have sensitive information, privileged information, stuff requiring NDAs and the like, I would caution you to at least understand your corporate rules as it relates to stuff like that. Don't upload things that you don't necessarily want, quote unquote, exposed. There hasn't been any breaches that I'm aware of with information that's leaked like this. And there's millions and millions of prompts that are occurring every single day across the planet, okay? So the likelihood that they find your information and they use it in a negative way is pretty slim. But again, be aware of what your corporate rules are as it relates to uploading specific information. Does that make sense, everybody? Yes, ma'am.
So just example for number one, this
Yep.
is where you would upload a document, is that what?
Yeah, you absolutely could. Yep, you absolutely could. If you get a transcribed like PDF of meeting minutes, meeting notes, you can absolutely upload that into the system and say, please summarize these meeting notes with the top 3 actionable items with the associated dates as they occur.
How do you upload a document?
Right here, a tag.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep, that's exactly it. Yes, sir.
So could you do the same thing with a actual video, like the video that you're taking now? Can I upload that video and have them
So to the
transcript or summarize
Right.
the meeting?
So to the best of my knowledge, no.
Okay.
Not in ChatGPT as of yet. So I would have to use my video and audio editing software to pull the transcription out, and then I would copy and paste that transcription into ChatGPT. But it's on its way. It's very, very close, but right now that's a little bit more narrow, where most of the things inside of ChatGPT are very broad. They want you to be able to do a bunch, and the specific use cases there isn't a lot of practical applicability yet, but it's on its way. So what we were talking about, how I had my therapist I could talk to, and I've done this in meetings before with clients. I'll have a client consultation. I'll actually open ChatGPT. I'll tell it, hey, I'm going to have a meeting here for the next 60 minutes. I would like you to record our conversation, and then when you use ChatGPT as an example on your phone, not only will it listen, but then it will transcribe it into a chat where we've had that conversation. And then you have that, and you can say, okay, after you're done, you're back in your hotel, you're back at your office, you're back in your home. Go back in, open up that chat, go down to the prompt at the bottom of that conversation and say, would you please transcribe and summarize these minutes and the things that we discussed? And then what are the things that I need to follow up on based on this conversation? You can absolutely do that, okay? All right, so the second one here, industry overview prompt. Generate a brief market overview for the e-commerce sector, focusing on recent growth trends and shifts in consumer behavior. That's very similar to the first prompt that we utilized, yes? But you could generate a brief market overview for the IT sector, right? You could generate a brief overview for the cement product industry located in Michigan, especially as you're moving into the spring, summer season as things get busier and busier. You can see how you can understand the market a little bit better. You're the subject matter expert in your market, so help utilize ChatGPT to enhance your ability to be able to market yourself, be aware of certain trends. You could look at trends in the IT sector. Are we seeing a constriction in the market? Are people tightening their budgets a little bit more? Are they looking at cost-effective ways to save money? You know, where you might have had your full-fledged service and you're on call 24/7, 365, maybe they're going back and it's only going to be office hours. Maybe you're not doing on-site stuff. Maybe everything you're doing is remote. Those are the types of trends in the industry to be aware of that can really help you stay ahead. So that instead of you guys being reactive to something happening in the market, you get to be proactive because you're aware of the trends and the things that are happening inside of the respective industries. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, looking at the last one, executive summary prompt. Draft an executive summary of this research paper highlighting the main findings, methodologies, and implications in less than 250 words. Amazing stuff. I am not a finance bro by any stretch of the imagination, but I do like to play in the stock market a little bit. Well, sometimes I'll find these articles, whether they're on the Wall Street Journal, whether somebody emails me, my financial advisor guy, or I even have a prospectus come in from Edward Jones. I can take that prospectus, I can take that information, I can upload it, and I can do hey, will you explain this to me like I'm a 10-year-old? What are the key points that I need to be aware of things that are happening inside of the industry? I don't want to be the finance bro, the subject matter expert, but I have somebody who can be the finance bro and then distill that information down in its simplest terms to explain it to me. I mean, tell me that's not amazing, to be able to understand what's happening in and around your industry, your respective industries. So what I would like to see you guys do is, why don't we look at number 2? Generate a brief market overview for the e-commerce sector. Instead of e-commerce, what is your industry? Generate a brief market overview for your industry, focusing on recent growth trends and shifts in consumer behavior. It's amazing to see the information that you're going to understand. More specifically in real estate, we had some big lawsuits, some national stuff that occurred, and there's different agreements that have to be signed and stuff like that. There's been a shift in consumer sentiment of how they're engaging with real estate professionals. It's good to be aware of that. So when I go into a conversation, I'm talking to somebody I've never met with, it allows me an opportunity to kind of have some ready-made responses to ensure that I'm not sitting there going, I don't really know. That doesn't look good. We're all professionals. We need to act like it. So be prepared. And these types of prompts allow you to be prepared as you're going in and you're talking to prospective clients, you're talking to your peers in a certain industry, things of that nature. Does anybody have anything they want to share from that type of response? We still typing?
Well, sure.
Go for it.
We do architectural masonry at mine, so that's what I put in here. It says the architectural blockmaking industry has experienced notable growth in recent years, driven by increased construction activities and evolving consumer preferences. They gave me 3 for market growth trends and 4 for shifts in consumer behavior, from sustainability, design preferences, the type of block, and it actually says that between now and 2029, it's expected to grow 6.38%.
Phenomenal. So then my follow-up response to that would be, based on the fact that we are looking at growing our business as much as possible within the next couple of years, what are the top 5 actionable steps I can take to ensure growth and market capture within this industry? And then we've got even more information that we can look at. And then we can continue to refine and iterate. And I now have actionable items that I can take to my sales guys, to my managers, to my owners, to whomever it is, and be like, hey, I think this is a good sector we need to go after. Nobody's focusing on this aspect, right? I mean, is there value there? I think there's a tremendous amount of value. Anybody else have one that they want to share? No? Come on, somebody be brave. Somebody be brave. All right, we can keep moving forward. 17 minutes. Jasmine, you're killing me with 60 minutes. That's it? All right, so for my marketing people, sales people, creative and advanced use cases, we're building upon things that we've already learned. We started off with a little bit more simplistic prompts, things that are not as full-bodied. I want to get into these where you see a lot of information coming to you. So the role play prompt. Let's do a role play. You're a customer who's unhappy about a delayed order. I'm the customer support agent trying to resolve your issues. Respond as the customer and I'll practice my replies. That's exactly what I talked about. It's exactly what I talked about. I get a client calls me up, John, why the hell isn't my house selling? I don't know. You should have kept better care of it. But I would never tell them that, right? So I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, okay, we need to figure this out. We need to have this conversation. We can go through and I can say, listen, I have a client. They have a home located at XYZ. The reason their home hasn't sold, in my opinion, is because of these feature sets or because they've decided to price it too high, et cetera, et cetera. let's work through some potential answers when I go and meet with this client face to face to ensure that we can come and reconcile our differences and continue moving forward with the sale of their home, right? That's absolutely something that every single one of us, even in our daily lives, who here has kids or a spouse, right? My wife is pissed. I didn't do this. I would be remiss if I didn't admit that I've been like, all right, so I'm up the creek, Chat GPT. I need you to help me get out of this hot mess. There's nothing wrong with that. Chat GPT is not exclusive to business use cases. Use it personally all the time. I have my kids use it. This will be my kids' future. This will absolutely be everything that they do. My kids are 12, 11, 8, and 8. My kids, this is going to be second nature. We grew up utilizing Google and understanding how to Google. And then my mom's like, I can't figure this out. I'm like, all right, Mom, let me Google that for you. And we've all been there, okay? My kids are going to be like, Dad, just get on ChatGPT. You get all the answers, okay? This is an extremely important facet of our life. And again, I'm not trying to dumb myself down where I can't come up with my own responses to things. I absolutely can. But I can get better utilizing systems like this. Sometimes I get a little bit temper, I get a little bit flared up, I'm a little bit hot, and so it's like, all right, I need to calm down. What are 3 options here I can work out with my kids to make sure that instead of playing video games, they're cleaning their room, they're doing their laundry? Do I need some type of reward system? How can I engage with them in a way that makes sense to both them and me? Nothing wrong with that. That's a great thing. I want to be better not only as a businessman, but as a father, as a husband, as a friend. These are all important aspects of everyday life now. All right, combining multiple instructions prompts. The example is act as an experienced HR manager. So glad they're not here. And craft a brief internal memo. And again, we're being very focused, a maximum of 200 words. You can tell it that. I want you to be concise. I want to get to the point immediately. Announcing a new wellness program, including a call to action sign up. That's great. You did like 3 separate things in there with one prompt. Let's say you don't get something you like. Refine, iterate. Tell it, nope, don't like it. I don't like it. And I've done that plenty of times. This is not the type of response I was looking for. I want you to be X, whether it's more professional, more casual. I want you to be more clear in what I'm requesting. I want to obfuscate the features of what I'm asking you to do. I would rather have you, more just, I'm insinuating. Sometimes that's what you need to do, right? So refine and iterate. The last one here, tell a short inspirational story about overcoming challenges in a startup environment and include 3 key lessons learned. It demonstrates the creative narrative capabilities of the AI. Anybody familiar with like Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP through Amazon? Yeah. So you can actually self-publish books now, which I think is absolutely amazing. There are so many use cases of people utilizing AI and going through an entire set of prompts, writing a book. I'm actually in the middle of doing that myself. 100%. You could absolutely do that utilizing the information that you can build and generate through ChatGPT. Then you can take that and you can literally be a published author on Amazon at the drop of a hat.
That's awesome.
Isn't that amazing?
Company or anything.
It's amazing the feature sets. And again, I'm trying to open everyone's eyes to see all of the different possibilities and the things that we can do inside of the system. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
If each of us literally like verbatim typed in what this prompt that you had, are we all going to get the same answer? Or is it
No.
different every time?
Different every single time. Different every single time. Because you have to understand that the system, initially there was a lot of, and I'm talking the early days of LLMs. Early days being what, 2021, late 2021, 2022. The systems were doing more what I would call word prediction. There wasn't as much thought. That's why you had to be very clear with your prompts. Whereas nowadays, it's what we would call conversational AI, where you can say, like, nope, this information is complete and utter hot garbage. We need to go back through and we need to restructure what these responses are going to be. So yes, you are correct. There was a lot of prediction initially, but now as the systems are constantly iterating and getting better. You know, they're adding more technological, more features to them. It's very conversational. Talk to it like you're talking to another human being. Yes, ma'am.
What about rights and things of that nature?
Say that again.
Or whatever. You know, we were in a conference and someone was saying about AI created an image or a picture or a photo of someone.
Sure.
To use on a marketing campaign,
Uh-huh.
riding a bus.
Yep.
Or if that person looks like someone, and I don't know about rights and trademarks and all of that. How does that play into that?
Again, a lot of those corporate rules are at play depending on what type of industry you're in. You know, I'm quote unquote self-employed. Okay, so for me, if I want to use what's called DALL-E 3, if I want to use DALL-E 3 or I want to use Midjourney to create an image, I do it because there's not really any repercussions for me. It's an AI generated image. You know, but if you're working with a large corporation or a large organization that might have rules against it, and this is all in a state of flux because it's also new, right? They don't have all that stuff defined yet. So maybe you have to ask that question of whether it's your manager, the executives, bosses, board of directors, even HR. You know, do what you have to do to ensure that you're getting the appropriate information, okay? But that's a great question. Image generation, something we're not really going to touch on today, but we can absolutely create some amazing feature sets there with that information. All right, so the last page here that we have, personal productivity prompts. And we just touched on this prior to going to this slide. I like this. I want to be as efficient and as great of a human being as I can. So I'm not opposed and I'm not too proud to say, why don't I use AI? I want to plan my day more effectively. Could you create a detailed weekday schedule that includes work, exercise, family time, and a short relaxation period? I work a 9-to-5 job and prefer to exercise in the morning. The purpose is it structures a daily routine tailored to one's lifestyle. I love time blocking. As a sales guy, all I do is time block. I know what I'm doing from this hour to this hour all the way through. I am a man of structure. People are like, oh, hey, let's go do this. Like, nah, sorry, bro, got stuff going on. But for me, the ability to be able to do that and really structure my day and say, listen, I need to be able to spend a certain amount of time generating new leads for my business. I need to spend a little bit of time doing some marketing. I need to do this. And you can make that prompt like full featured, absolutely full featured. Very, very, very good stuff can come from like a daily planning prompt. Goal setting prompt. Help me set 3 realistic personal goals for the next quarter. For each goal, provide a clear objective, a timeline, and a few actionable steps. Breaks down long-term objectives into manageable tasks. Now for me, in sales and in real estate, and I've got a lot of irons in the fire these days, but if I'm looking specifically at real estate, I want to make $250,000 this year. Our average home sale price in Genesee County hovers right around $200,000 on average. Commission rates will be roughly anywhere from 2.5% to 3.5%. Based on this information, please tell me how many homes I would need to sell in 2025. And then from there, now we're going to break it down into actionable steps. How many calls do I need to make a day? Typical cold calling retention rates, like 1 out of 100, where you can actually set an appointment. So if I need to have X number of appointments and I close 50% of my personal appointments, how many actual appointments do I need to go on? And then let's break that down month by month. And now I take that back and say, oh, I've got to do 3 hours of cold calling every day. Now I'm going to add this to my personal productivity prompt, and I'm going to break it all down. I'm going to structure my day, and I'm going to become a more efficient salesman in trying to ensure that I've got my eye on the prize of the things that I'm trying to do. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, last one here, habit building prompt. Suggest a simple habit building routine for someone who wants to read more books, improve their fitness, and reduce screen time before bed. That's me right here. This one, I feel like I'm getting called out by Chat GPT. That's not very nice at all. Include an explanation of why each habit is beneficial. The purpose is to provide strategies to establish and maintain positive habits. So as we get ready to finish up here, I'd like you to take one of these 3 prompts, and I'd like you to type it into Chat GPT. I want you to ask it, how can I get better at being who I am? I don't like that I spend my screen time on my cell phone is embarrassingly high. You know, how can I avoid having 10, 12 hours of screen time a day on my cell phone? What can I do, to increase physical fitness, to create mental fitness, to create, better, stronger relationships with my spouse and with my kids and with my friends? These are the features and the things that you can do with this system. So I don't care if it's for business, it's professional, it's for community advocacy, whatever it's for. You can use this system to, again, enhance your capabilities as a person involved in those respective areas of expertise. Does that make sense? Yes, ma'am.
Does it learn like what responses you like and don't like so that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So if we were to do, Jasmine, gonna hit you up, if we were to do another class, we could talk about going in and setting up. You can actually give the AI certain directions on how to respond. You can explain the tonality. I can go through, and so I took, before AI, I would write a bunch of blog posts. So they were all in my voice and tone, right? So I said, I'm gonna take the website, I'm gonna upload a link to the website, and I'm gonna say, I would like you to read at least the first 20 pages of this blog. I want you to then give me a point of reference for the tonality and my style of writing so that you can emulate that for all future responses. You can absolutely train the AI to speak like you. And I mean, again, look at what it costs to go order a fast food meal. I mean, it's $10 to $15 for a single meal nowadays. So $20 a month, in my opinion, is well worth it.
That's a write-off too, so.
Absolutely it is. Yep, absolutely it is. Got a question?
Try yes.
Go for it.
Well, let's say I go here and I ask it to create something for me that will eventually be put out there
Okay,
online
sure.
for the world to see.
Yep.
Do I need to say at the bottom, hey, I got this from AI? Or some kind of a disclaimer or attribution?
Great question. I would assume, because I'm jaded, that everybody that's putting out content is using AI as some type of supplement. Even if you were to write everything yourself. Joel, you sit down, you spend 2 hours, you write it, maybe you toss it into AI. And I've done that before, where I wanted to write something very personal, or like a letter to our Chamber of Commerce members, right? So I want to write that. I'll take what I wrote specifically, I'll drop it into AI, and I'd say, will you review this for clarity, correct grammar, punctuation, etc. If you have any suggestions, please list them at the bottom, and then we'll discuss implementation. To better, more specifically answer your question, it depends on your organization. If your organization wants you to give some type of attribution or disclaimer that says this post was developed by AI, so be it. I don't think that it's necessary because, again, I'm just going to assume that everyone is using AI nowadays. I could be completely wrong, but who's got hours to spend writing stuff? That sounds just miserable. So that's not my cup of tea. All right, so we got about 2 minutes. Any other questions? Anything that I can answer for you guys? Yes, sir.
So I saw you had used O3 Mini. Was that like a specific reason why?
O3 Mini right now, again, because I'm on the Plus plan, it's a lot better at reasoning. So when I go through and I use O3 Mini, it's going to really think deeply about the subject matter instead of just spitting out a response. It's a little less predictive and a little bit more thoughtful. Does that make sense? Yep.
So O3 Mini is the same thing as Chat GPT?
Yep. So I can pull up mine real quick. So right here, when I'm in here, these are the different models.
Oh, is that the paid one you're talking about?
Yeah. So this is the Pro plan. So GPT 4.0, if you're using a free plan, this is the one you have access to. Okay? And again, guys, I want to be very transparent here. OpenAI, just 1 second. OpenAI is training its models on your inputs as well. So your information is being used to better train the models and give better information. Okay? Just be aware of that. Again, ChatGPT is the product, OpenAI is like the stakeholder. Yep. So you have 4.0, 4.5. This one's new for me. I just got access to this one, so I haven't done a whole lot. But this is the one, if you're on the $20 a month plan, I would use this one to get started and see. There's some great information here. O1's good, O3 Mini High. Again, logic, advanced reasoning. Don't let engineers name things because none of this makes any sense. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 would be very beneficial, but we'll talk about that another time. All right, I am out of time, you guys. I appreciate it. Yep, so thank you guys so much. Again, I know that I just gave you guys so much information all at once. Jasmine's gonna get you guys copies of the PDFs, so you guys have that. Again, if you guys want to meet with me, I'm offering an hour of my time to be able to sit down with you guys, whether it's at my office, your office, wherever. That has all of my contact information as well.
You gotta say you're a pretty good teacher for wearing flip-flops.
Appreciate that. Thank you guys. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.